Hello, everybody. This is Peter Palmiotti with it's number 35. What contributes to an excellent workday? Because I know you wanted to know. With me today, thus far, we might have a few stragglers, but we have Greg.
Hello. With my lower third graphic.
That's
So
right.
fancy.
Y'all so fancy.
I am. Thank you.
And a newcomer today. Hey, Ian.
How you doing?
I usually have newcomers introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're doing currently.
Cool. Yeah. My name's Ian. I live in Brooklyn. I'm a comic artist. I'm a cancer. I like long walks on the beach. And right now, I've been freelancing full time for about 6.5 years now, and currently working on a few projects. I'm working on a comic called Destroyer Worlds. On hiatus from a project called Zombie with a Shotgun because it's being filmed into a movie concurrent with the comic.
Wow.
And doing lots of other stuff, album covers, t-shirts, album covers, lots of other stuff.
Cool. Well, welcome, definitely. We were just before the broadcast. We were talking about, I started on radio years ago, just like helping a friend out. It was actually called Comic Book Novice.
Oh, okay.
And I was the news guy. And
that was like 92, 93 probably.
Some early 90s probably, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, comics were like everywhere. Like I remember seeing, turning on QVC and they were selling like collector's edition of like the X-Men wedding issue, and all the stuff like it's weird. Like you mentioned, like you talk about comics on the radio. Like that's completely unthinkable now. Even though comics are a huge thing, but like you could never expect. Maybe like NPR would do like some kind of like thing about it, but.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like everybody was doing it and let's do our own version. I honestly don't know if there were any other people talking about comic books really on the radio on a regular basis. We were like Thursday nights, late night, and I think we had callers call in at some points, and it was just really fun and nerve-wracking at the same time. A radio station out in the outskirts of Long Island. It took me 2 hours to freaking get there.
Yeah.
Because I had to go around. I was on the edge of Brooklyn, and I had to take the train into Manhattan, then go to Long Island. So roundabout way of getting there.
Wait, was this before Atlantic Terminal?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
it was I didn't go to Long Island other than for the radio show, so I don't know.
Yeah, because I didn't notice when I moved to Brooklyn and I had to go to Long Island for band practice. My band was out there. I would take Penn, and then I found out no, you just go to Fort Greene or whatever. And there's a Atlantic Terminal. It's like five subway stops away from me. I was ending up taking the train an hour to go to Penn Station, wait more, take the train back to where I came.
I don't know if that option was available. Honestly, I figured it out at some point and stuck with it because it worked.
You didn't use your iPhone in 1992?
No, no. I barely use it now. I don't even have one. It's on my list of things to get.
Yeah.
I have a Kindle Fire. That's about how advanced I am.
Yeah.
That stuff goes. But yeah, let's see. I guess just briefly, like for Halloween just has passed us a couple days ago, and I went out camping with Lisa and essentially her brother and her brother's girlfriend. It's a town away from us, but it's an hour. Like it's central instead of Eastern time zone.
Oh, really?
It's like it's close, but it passes the border barely, and but it's a big, beautiful. Like she has 48 acres, and it's mostly woods and whatnot. But we had a huge all night and just drinking and eating crap mostly, and and just talking nonstop and just hanging out and enjoying. I mean, frankly, it wasn't until like 3 a.m. or something. Like it really started getting a little cool. But we were like kind of like this is still summer feeling.
Yeah.
Wayne, it's really weird.
You gotta love global warming.
Yeah. But while we were there, we were fine. But it took us a couple of days to recover. Just sleeping on the ground, I guess, was part of it, and just lumbering everything around, and finally caught up with us, and it was like, oh my God, I can't move. Because heck, I mean, it was the first real vacation we've had in quite some time. We go see friends and hang out with family all the time, but to really just get out of the house for a night. And we took, we have 4 cats here. We took 2 of our cats with us, two of the girls, because we knew they would kind of flip out if we left them home. Yeah. And our littlest one adopted well to the outdoor life. The older one, not so much. The older one was like hiding behind the cat taxi.
Oh, no.
Most of the night. But she was, the minute we got her home, she was like her old self again. So no permanent damage. But it was really cool, and we're thinking about doing it every year now. We'll see.
Yeah, it's cool.
Did you guys do anything exciting for Halloween?
Oh, yeah.
I was the person who made or helped with little bits of my girlfriend's and one of her son's costumes. I did man the candy at the door. No one came, thank God, because I didn't have a costume, so I basically just looked like, somebody's boring boyfriend who had to man the door with the candy. I guess that was my costume, probably. But I've been sick as a dog with these bizarre allergies and other stuff. So basically, like my kind of like my Halloween fun was sort of like making sure that other people had fun. So that was my thing.
Yeah, I never thought at 30 I'd still be dressing up. Like I stopped dressing up when I was like 13, I think, and I would like stay behind with my dad and watch horror movies. And then all of a sudden, like in college, I started dressing up again. And this year, I went out on Saturday. I dressed up as Jesus and drank a lot and was up like really late at night. And that's what you do. Didn't eat a single piece of candy this year.
Oh, we ate plenty of candy at the fire. We had hot dogs and chicken and some real food, but mostly a lot of chocolate going around. And
That's good.
It's
That's
like,
great.
yeah. Uh, um, I mean, I don't think I've been around a fire that huge. It must have been 6 feet wide or something. I don't know. It's crazy. Um,
Yeah.
but they had, it was in the middle of, not in the middle. It was actually close to the tree line, but far enough away that it wasn't any trouble. But they pretty much could have had it in the middle of a field if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Future. But it was, it's like I'm sort of a pyro from my youth, so that kind of stuff is fun.
Me too. Yeah, me too. I almost lit the couch on fire one time when I was a kid. I was in, I don't know, 4th grade or something, 3rd grade. That was, I think, the height of my pyro stuff. And I was playing around with, very small flame action with alcohol, which is rubbing alcohol because it goes out so fast, And then the dish of alcohol I was using to light up spilled over on the couch. Because imagine doing that on the couch, using the couch as your laboratory table, and imagine that could be possibly a bad idea.
Yeah. The older I get, the less I'm into fire. Like for 4th of July this year, I went to a friend's family gathering. His brother got all these fireworks. And we're setting them off, and I don't really get the appeal, and I don't want to. My hands are precious. These are $1 million hands right here. And,
yeah.
And so I don't want to blow anything up. So finally, he convinced me to set off a firework, and we're in this people's yard. Like I think it was like their uncle's yard. And they're very patriotic. And this huge American flag hanging up, and I think they were like cops or something. So they respected the flag when they took it down. They folded it correctly, made sure it didn't touch the ground. So I light this bottle rocket, and instead of going up, this one was defected. It went up and then back, went straight through the flag, and almost hit a little kid.
I thought you were going to say that it lit it on fire or something, because that would that would be like then you just like walk away. You just go home. You're like, okay, I'll see you, bye, and then you just leave.
But I'm so glad. I mean, like the people I was with saw what happened. But I'm so glad that the uncle didn't see it, because he would have flipped out. This was the absolute last house I'd ever want to desecrate a flag at.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Peter, before we get further into the show, if there's anyone I know that's around, do you want me to invite anyone, or would that be...
Sure, yeah.
Can I give them the Hangout link thing?
If you, yeah, I mean, it's only good for when we're live.
Right, I'm just going to... It's one of the guys I interviewed, and he's a local Vermont creator, and he's usually got stuff to say, so I'll see if he's around.
Sure. I always welcome new people. It's dangerous, but
Yeah,
he's a mild-mannered and polite guy. So
yeah, I won't be the new guy anymore. So that's awesome.
he won't be. Yeah.
By a few minutes.
Yeah. I'm a veteran at this point.
What was it? We had Logan Xavier on. Yes.
Excuse me.
And I think we were joking to him about initiation. Yeah. I was like, "Yeah, you have to draw an apple."
You have to what?
Awesome.
You have to draw an apple to be on the show.
Oh,
that's great. That's awesome.
Don't make me do that. I can't draw apples.
No.
Horses, cars, apples.
So I see you guys working. I'm serious. I'm just, I usually just doodle during the show. I actually want to try to do something one day, but I don't want to chance it just yet. Like I would like to open up a digital coloring program and just fool around on screen.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Rather than like people seeing my forehead all the time.
It's a hell of a forehead.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Wait, Peter. So I got to ask you.
Yeah.
Wait, Peter, I got gotta ask you. Every time I see you post on Facebook, it seems like you're working on a new project. Like, how many projects do you work on at once?
Too many. I am in over my head, but I mean that's sort of my objective, and you know I've probably talked about this elsewhere, but um, you know it's not, to me it's not enough to like do one book and what I'm trying to do is like something bigger than that.
Yeah.
And so that means me juggling a lot of things, and I'm trying to become very good at that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'll see you post and you're like, today I gotta draw 20 commissions, I gotta ink 50 pages, I gotta write 3 books. I'm like, damn, dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, you know.
Well, I mean, like you, I'd rather be busy than bored. Like, it's always great when I have like at least 2 or 3 projects going on at once, because like a lot of times I have a lot of downtime in between projects, like getting approval or getting like new scripts or something like that. So I'd rather have like, do one project, have something I can come back to and stuff like that. It's better than just having one and being bored or yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's like sort of what I got. I was an inker most of my career, and that was my focus when comics were doing really good back in the 90s, even a little bit in the 2000s. I was working for Marvel, DC, Valiant, yada yada yada, like lots of independent publishers. But all I was doing was inking. I was doing one thing at a time. So I was working for one person at any one day, any one week, until I was done, and then work on something else, be done with that, work on something else, and so on and so on. And I just found like there was a hollowness about that, it's like, okay, so I got a new job and I finished. It came out, and it looks like it looks like. I don't control anything, so it's like it's never what I would want it to be personally. Coloring is like a topic I can go into for hours alone. But even just little details about just promotion for the book, or everything you can complain about or bitch about, and I'm not necessarily about. I realized that there wasn't, it wasn't a rounded kind of career, and as soon as I came to the decision to, it's like I'm just going to work on my own books. Or I'm gonna team up with friends and work on, or whatever the case. I didn't want to work on one thing, and ultimately it got me where I am today, which isn't. I'm not in the best of shape, especially like I want to get 100 times more organized about what I'm doing, and so I think by just pushing myself every day, by juggle all this, I may find solutions that others may never have to think of. So I do this with purpose, even if like I feel like I'm failing most of the time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, you also have more skin in the game. You're not working on someone else's property; it's your own. So you have more invested, and that could, it can kind of drag you down a little bit if you're working on someone else's dream or someone else's project, and you have no real investment in it. So yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from. Like that's my ultimate dream. Like I was to write and draw my own stuff. Like Peter, like we met because of how opinionated I can be sometimes in one of those comics I did.
Yep.
And I actually got into like Eric Larson just commented on my Facebook one day about something I wrote about like a really bad story I was working on, and Eric freaking Larson from Savage Dragon shows up, and it like I thought like a lot of people would give me crap for like the views I was saying and stuff like that because it was kind of a negative post, but he agreed with me, and I was like, well, if Eric Larson is this guy who's been writing and drawing his own character for 25 years nonstop, and he agrees with me, then like maybe I'm on the right path, and that's you know that'd be my ideal thing, is kind of like, you know, like what you're doing, like just creating my own stuff and doing it all yourself, because I think that'll create the best product. Because I see Eric Larson's been on. He posts like process things on Facebook. 25 years into Savage Dragon, he's still experimenting, still trying new things, and it's crazy. Like you know, he's still learning things and trying new stuff, and it's so inspiring seeing these things that he posts.
Yeah, he's definitely like, you know, one of those guys that, I mean, you know, even when he was just an artist, I used to follow his work and fun and energetic. But when he, you know, came up with Savage Dragon and it's pretty wild beginning, and I read it for a long time. You know, I sort of got out of reading most comics, but definitely, like, you got to respect the guy. He's done so much work.
Well, there's certain things I do, like I'm like I only discovered him like a few years ago. My favorite comic artist is Alex Toth, and Alex Toth is this guy who's always experimenting with storytelling, and everything. And the best comics are always ones with great stories. Like it could have like crappy art, it could have bad lettering, bad coloring, but as long as the story's good and the visual storytelling is fine, that's all that matters. And so it's kind of cool seeing like Eric experimenting with new storytelling things. Like there's one where every single page in a comic had 9 panels on it, but he never repeated a layout for the thing, and he just did that like for fun. And there was another one where he for a while he was drawing on twice up boards, and he did an entire issue that was double page spread. So he would take one huge sheet of paper, like 22 by 30, maybe even larger, and just draw double page spreads for every single page. And that's you know, a lot of it could be seen as like flashy gimmicky stuff, but he was using it to tell a story. And
well, the funny thing is, at least with that size format stuff, I mean, size format was about double size than what became the regulation in the 60s. And that was really basically due to Marvel and DC wanting to cut down on cost of Bristol. Yeah, it's just Bristol cost, you know. But
it's printing cost too. Because they could fit 4 pages on the camera instead of 2.
Right. So I mean, you know, with all of that, that really had a huge. It sort of had to go that way. So really, in a way, all he's doing is sort of allowing himself the freedom of a post 1966, 67, you know, mandate. You know, the thing that's also kind of interesting, though, of course, is that, and it was Kirby that had to kind of take it on his back, and then everybody else sort of followed suit.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is I read a Mark Evanier post about like the changing sides of the paper, and they showed I looked up the first issue that Kirby ever did, 11 by 17. It was like a Tales of Suspense Captain America story. And it's funny because the lettering is really big, and all the shots are like close-ups because he wasn't used to drawing that small. It's hilarious.
Yeah, and it also was the place where his 4-panel on a page started, you know. Because he had to work it out, you know. And but there are some really, I mean, what's kind of neat about it, though, is that, of course, because it's him, you know, he figured out a way to make sure that the events happened that had to happen as per the plot, and also he was able to make arresting images out of 4 panels a page.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like everybody else kind of learned from his example about how to deal with this new thing. which is also
except Steranko, who tried to fit like 20 panels on every page.
well,
when he wasn't doing a 5-page spread.
Right, but Steranko started out. That's after Steranko had his bearings within the medium. When he started out copying Jack Kirby material, like the early Harvey comics that he did, like Magic Man and Spy Master, and this material. It was all, and then the stuff for Marvel. It was all basically Kirby duplication. Which is really funny because if you look at Steranko's earliest work for Marvel, and you look at Barry Smith's earliest work for Marvel, they actually look almost identical in that in the way that they are both awkward young copies of Jack Kirby, and they actually have.
You say Barry Smith?
Yeah, they have very similar styles. Actually, if you look at the work, it's almost by the same 18-year-old or whatever artist, and then later Steranko starts to build, his war chest of technique. But at first he's really just pretty much somebody who was duplicating Jack Kirby's material.
Yeah, well,
but
a lot of Marvel artists were leaning towards a Jack Kirby style,
or Kirby would do layouts for everybody too. Like when he had the house style, he would do layouts for new artists. Like John Romita's early Marvel stuff was all over Kirby layouts. And
Buscema too. Like Buscema said that there was something I saw with him once when he was still alive, and he said that that was what saved him. Was Stan had to keep telling him you got to redo it, and finally, what saved that issue, that book, whatever he was working on that time, was they finally had to give it to Jack Kirby, and then he said, no, this is what you do, and then he just. But the thing is, we look at it. I don't mean we as a bunch of people, but it's funny how many people our age or younger have this amazing parochial attitude towards the material and the process. And it's like, that's why he sucked, you see, because he didn't just know this stuff. It's like you have absolutely fundamentally no idea how process art is done, and you really should just shut the hell up because, like the internet a lot of times should really just shut the hell up because basically, people, including more fans, but also people who get into this kind of art form, have no idea what the precedent is even for the tools that they're using. And whether or not something is, and the idea of cheating or these other really kind of infantile terms is just ridiculous. It's just so absurd.
One of my favorite things was this huge blow up in this Facebook group I saw where I think it was Rob Liefeld's birthday, and someone came in and just started trashing Rob in every single post. But the bottom line, you don't have to like his art, but
no.
But the bottom line was the guy who was doing all the complaining was someone who hasn't had a comic published, isn't a good artist himself, hasn't sold millions of copies of comics, isn't a multi-millionaire, and it was just hilarious seeing this dude who thought he knew so much, and he's bashing a dude who's accomplished more than most people will in 20 lifetimes.
Yeah, now there's a whole entire other vector about that, which is the damage that was done by a lot of that material. But yeah, it's really, really, I don't know. It's just another kind of really base immaturity to kind of stamp all over somebody's accomplishments, and particularly if you're someone who hasn't even accomplished amateur attempt at the material. You're drawn on a weak hand, as they used to say.
Yeah, it's one of those things. When I was younger, I used to be kind of vocal about my dislike of artists, and then once I started freelancing, I realized how hard this was. I've learned so much since my first paid freelance thing, 6-7 years ago. But I'm still learning today, and it's one of those things where the more you know, the less you know, and the more humble you become, and so it's even if I don't like someone's art, there's plenty of flaws I can pick out about Rob Liefeld's art, but I grew up reading that stuff, and I'll still check out X Force. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of cool.
Well, the other thing too is that people make these kind of empirical statements about any of these people, and like, what are you going to do? I mean, Peter and I could probably. The only reason why I say Peter and I is because I think you're a lot younger than we are.
Yeah.
But it would be easy to go on quite a bit about the history of what led to the image explosion, the market forces that basically allowed it or reinforced it to be huge, and then the subsequent stuff that happened as a result of it. So it was like a game changer in all these kinds of ways. But there's also like stuff that the original image did to kind of do damage to the industry as well. And some of them are direct damage, but some of them are also indirect damage. There's. The direct damage is pretty obvious. I mean, it essentially made it possible for people who were incredibly young, without experience and without cultural literacy, to make millions of dollars selling books full of pinups. So that were would have been considered hack books 20 years earlier. That's just a fact. The only person out of the entire crew that had a sensibility about narrative illustration you could definitely make the argument that Jim Lee and certainly Eric Larson and maybe Valentino, because of his cartoon background, had the chops to do real work. The rest of it was pinups and stuff that would have been rejected by most editors 20 years ago. So it caused this like youthquake of comics creation. But the other side of that youthquake is, if you didn't have Image explode, it's very likely you probably wouldn't have had the counter forces that would have then brought up Vertigo. But then the other negative reinforcement was that the Image sort of excesses of the Image generation clearly had a direct result in a backlash that caused the sort of literary writer explosion in comics. And now you've got the situation where the entire cart is before the horse, and everybody is making stars out of writers, including Hollywood and the ancillary contract people. And they are effectively making artists into sort of these like begrudgingly necessarily hired hand mules that just somehow make the pictures happen, when the entire medium is predicated on 90% visuals. Right? I'm not saying that like you blame that on Image, but I think that it is probably the case that there was a backlash against that sort of bro comics that then, now made the other thing tip in the other direction, maybe.
Well, it was what I mentioned before. Without a solid story, Image, there were some books that had good art, but without a good story, it's just it's nothing. And so I'd rather have a good story than good art. But I agree with what you said, that
of course
the artists are kind of treated as second-class citizens. Now it seems like all the powers with the writers and the editors.
That's because of the market aspects of it too.
Yeah, if you think about at the time, there was Image, there was Valiant, Marvel and DC. I think Marvel and DC were running third and fourth for a little while. And Valiant
and Mirage, right?
Mirage?
Yeah, the Turtles.
Oh, well, they weren't put 100 books though.
No. I know that. I just mean that they were a potent force that was making a lot of industry. It was doing a lot of industry influence and I mean, it wasn't in my influence. No. I
was totally aware of.
I had no clue that was a comic until a few years ago. I was all about the cartoon when I was a kid, and I had all the action figures and stuff. No clue it was a comic.
Yep. But yeah, go ahead.
With Valiant, Valiant had a lot of good artists, but they were really constricted away from doing like pinup books, away from doing, I mean, a lot of their layouts look like early Marvel to a degree.
Yeah,
Like
well,
there was no real splash to it. It was
No.
all story based. All
Yeah.
well, yeah. Well, I used to have a bunch of Valiant books, and I always assumed that they were just kind of image type books until I realized like the creators that they had. Like they had Don Perlin.
Yeah.
They had Steve Ditko did a bunch of stuff for them. I want to say Gil Kane, maybe.
Bob Layton.
Bob Layton, yeah. And so these were kind of like older guys that were kind of doing stuff in a more modern sense.
Yeah,
But
no, it was.
they had Dr. Solar and Turok, which were Gold Key comics in the '60s.
Yeah. I mean, it was all built from Jim Shooter.
Yeah.
And he put it all together, and even when he left, it was still heavily influenced by what he started. When I was working up there, he left a little while before I started working there, and the colorists were working, just like hand dyes, coloring the comic books.
Yeah.
And it was. They were. They could have actually beaten Image at some point, but they were stuck with their coloring method, which looked amazing in person, not so much in the final product. I think.
No, it was.
Was it?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember the color. Was it computer coloring or?
No, it was dyes.
It was just hand dyes, like painted onto copies of the art.
Like classic Dr. Martin style hand coloring. I mean, all your coloring, your classic comics was not reproduction of hand color. It was it was basically the Doc Martens were there to have a system of reproducible color formula that the printer had. They had the same color mixing grid that you did based on the Doc Martin dyes.
Right.
And it was, I mean, Jimmy can talk about this in even greater detail because he was there for it. But like so there are tons and tons were accumulated photocopies that were hand colored with every single segment of the color with little pointers and ballpoint saying this is R3, Y35, B7, blah blah blah, and then the printer would take that stuff, but you could have actually reproduced those color guides and publish them. And what Valiant decided to do, very interestingly, was to really just do that. I mean, they were effectively just way better done color guides. When you say, Jimmy, I mean, they were kind of like the stuff that was being done in the 70s and stuff for years. Only now it was the coloring of the actual comic, which was cool. But it didn't reproduce the way they wanted it to.
Yeah, I've seen like a lot of like original art from, especially like painted covers for things like Creepy and Eerie. Like the original covers always look so much more vibrant than the printed thing. Like they still had issues printing full color. I tried to kind of my first graphic novel was based on it was kind of like an homage to adventure comics from the 50s and 60s, and I tried to do Doc Martin dye colors on it, and it was so freaking hard. I just ended up creating swatches of watercolor and then like digitally putting it in. Mm-hmm. But the effect's really cool looking, but it's a very difficult medium to use. I'd say that right now as I'm coloring with the Wacom.
I just went to the video page, and Mike Emmerich and Eric Fares have commented. Just, I guess they're just watching.
They should come into the show.
Well, Eric says he's recording, editing a video, a review video for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that he's working on, and Mike is Mike's busy.
Tell him that the review video is going to do better than anything Vanity Fair and Rolling Stone would put on YouTube.
There you go.
I'll be right back.
I wanted to mention Winsor Newton has somebody just shared it. Dee Dee, who's been on the Willingham, who's been on the show at some point. Winsor & Newton watercolor markers they have, and she just did a review, so I'll be sure to check that out.
Those are a water-based marker, I believe.
Oh, it says watercolor. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, they're not a solvent marker. So.
But I'd be curious about anything Winsor & Newton does, since they. But anyway, let's see. So at one point specifically, like when I was up at Valiant, they were doing Deathmate with Image, and that was a company crossover with Valiant and Image, and we were actually pretty much on schedule, and Image was like way off mark on their books and stuff they were supposed to be doing for it.
Never.
But never. Yeah, they were late with a lot of books they put out. But it, in the big scheme of things, it cost them. But in the short term, every book was still selling incredibly well, and making incredibly stupid money. But like Valiant was more about the story, more about putting solid artwork out there, as opposed to doing like pinup issues or just splash pages everywhere. They were solid storytelling in a very old school kind of way. And it's like I'm trying to put together a collection of my own comics, and it's like I'm thinking of the bigger picture. It's like what do I stand for? What do I it's like, to me, it's like number one thing is entertainment. As long as it's entertaining, then I'm happy somebody could read this and have a good time reading it, and at some point after the fact. But do I want to be known for like a high level of art or a high level of story, or what's my catchphrase for my company?
Yeah.
And that also goes for me as an artist personally. I'm a perfectionist of holding on to artwork for a longer period of time until it's just right. So I'm not necessarily the go-to guy for a quick fix, but you want something finished, to what I deem perfection or quality. Then you come to me. Otherwise, you go quick, Mr. Quick Speedy guy for just who could turn out artwork for $5 for nothing.
It's funny you mentioned that. 'Cause I was thinking about this today because it's funny. The whole topic of the podcast is what constitutes a good day, and everything about my day was horrible from a freelancing standpoint. But like one of the things is, I remember like getting into comics and learning about what you had to do, and one of the things was you had to be fast. You have to be fast. You have to do a page a day. You have to do a page a day. And then I got fast, and it's never benefited me at once. Like I always end up drawing faster than the other parts of the machine, or I draw so fast that they run out of money and have to do that. Like I did a book, for example, with a shotgun. I did a page a day, pencils, inks, and letters, and so I knew that I had it. Like I was hoping that I could do it and it wouldn't kill me or anything. I was able to do it, but I think it was the one project where it actually benefited me. And I want to draw fast. I need deadlines. I actually like deadlines. It's crazy.
Well,
Well, are you?
I don't know if you guys are the same way.
Well,
deadlines are a good thing to have, especially, you need to start something and finish it. You need to, complete a project, and that's something like I'm sort of gearing up. I want to finish a bunch of things before the end of the year, and the end of the year, I want to. So I might just do a complete media blackout, like where where you won't see me for a while, just to work on projects to get them done. But also, like, I will be getting some help, so it won't be all me. But yeah, it's like I would love to be faster. I would love to be a faster anchor. I know I could probably double my speed, cost, and quality. But it's like I know I could probably double that, but will that be too far? It's something I'm trying. I'm trying to push myself. I'm trying to, just get into a rhythm, get into a schedule. I have, besides my own projects, I have client work. I have inking gigs, and right now on my table, I have enough to keep me busy for a week at least of client work alone. So it's, past few days have been a lot of house maintenance, which we need to do more of. We got like a washer dryer, and that totally changes our kitchen, which changes our layout. It's like our apartment's only so big, so you change one thing and you got to move it, unfortunately.
Change everything.
But it's like I've been dealing with that for too long. But luckily, like, my studio environment is finally my own and untouched by the outside world, the rest of the apartment. So, I mean, going with the title of the episode, what constitutes a good day is like, yeah, don't mess with my studio. Because that's my peace of mind. It's like, I put my headset on, videos, play my podcast, play, even have TV programs sometimes. Whatever is most non-distracting, maybe empowering to workflow, I'll put on. But I have to have some noise 90% of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as artwork goes, I could be drawing, I could be inking, I could be whatever. I got to have some noise on. Writing is different.
Actually today while I was doing a little bit of work, I was listening to your last podcast. Like I always put on, I can't listen to music when I work because I'm a musician, and I try and figure out the song, how to play the songs in my head. Anytime I listen to a piece of music, that's all I do, and so yeah, I end up listening to, like, a lot of times, like, educational podcasts or comedy podcasts, stuff like that.
What do you do, Greg?
To ensure that I have a good day, or what is a good day?
Well, yeah, I mean, how do you define a good day? What works for you?
Yeah, well, my definitions include chronic health problems. So on a daily basis, I don't know where I'm at each day, which really interferes with productivity. I mean, the reason why my own book is so many years long in the making is part of it is interruptions like that. But having said that, I find that if the day starts out organized, if I'm up like on time or early, which for me would be a little earlier, if I've done my 3 S's in the morning by a decent amount of time, and I've got the coffee, and I've cleaned my desk off from yesterday, and I'm ready to rock, then the whole rest of the day goes great. I find that those things really have a profound effect on me because I'm nuts, and so that's part of it. And the other part is to I find that I'm more productive and more likely to stick it out through the process of getting the work done on the comics, let's say, or a job if I'm like, have some freelance work like I do right now. If I do warm up drawings, because stress is huge for me, anxiety is a clinical problem for me. So I find that if I do a bunch of these like drawings, which is why the Inktober thing I didn't finish it, but it was really fun when I was doing it, was because I do this kind of stuff. See, I don't have a camera over my desk, so I'm doing these,
Oh, that's cool.
I'm doing these things.
It looks like the Babadook a little bit.
Doing some.
Oh, that's cool.
Right. Right. So they're just these little individual drawings, so if I do a bunch of those, I did recently. 1970 Stanley.
Stanley.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that will if I like get to the desk, mess around and like get to it and then do a few of those, I will get into the groove, and then I find that it's a lot easier to really do a day of work. If any of that stuff gets funky or gets messed up for whatever reason, I tend to find that not only am I not productive, but then it kind of ruins the day for me, because I have this like self-recrimination kind of cascade effect that happens, and then I'm really not in great shape for the rest of the day, because I'm a frail little flower, and I'm a very emotionally frail person. As all artists
do you get this like?
So.
Well, do you get this thing, like I kind of get it sometimes, where like I draw for a living, I turn a hobby into a living, and it's better than any job I've ever had. But I can be such a perfectionist that little things will just throw everything off for me. Like, do you get that? Like you mentioned, things have to be like perfect in the beginning of the day for it to be fine. Like will it like completely ruin your day, or is it just like, would it just be a minor inconvenience?
Well, I don't mean like I throw things across the room and then go under the couch and sulk, but what I do mean is that it will throw off my productivity, and I'll find that I'm always playing catch up because I got distracted, or maybe I don't feel good that day, so then like I got this monkey on the back that's like, you didn't start in time. Now you got to catch up, and then that record goes real revving up fast, and I have to then figure out. Then it's usually something I'm working on. I mean, if I get into the work again, then I can get past that. But it can be really But yeah, perfectionism. That's during the work, so that's its own thing, and that's its own. Yeah, I mean, it's always stressful. At some point, the real common thread, I think, of anybody that works in applied arts, which is the old-fashioned kind of commercial art term for the illustration of the drawing or painting or whatever. Anybody who works in applied arts at some point has to learn how to not give a crap.
Yep.
On a certain level. I mean, you have to have a maintenance of quality, but you also have to be like, nope, that's it, because it's going to be 5 o'clock in 2 more hours, and this has got to get done, and so that's it. And you have to kind of almost like, there's a point where you have to sort of rely on the idea that you do hit a certain mark of quality even at your worst, and in the end the client should be able to iterate, no, this is not appropriate or good enough, please redo it. Yeah. And then you can go back and forth with that. But the internal argument about whether it's good or not is, everybody goes to that. It's nothing new. It's just going to happen forever, and it never gets better.
Yeah, you mentioned something, like I was talking to people about this recently.
It doesn't, by the way, I don't.
What's up?
I think we lost you, Greg.
Greg.
We lost your volume.
We lost Greg himself.
I can't hear you,
That
Greg.
just ruined my day. Yeah, but I was going to ask, I was having a conversation with a bunch of people before, what's more important, creating a piece of art, like if you're working for a client, creating a piece of art that you're happy with, or something that, and like the client will accept but isn't completely crazy about, or accepting or having something the client accepts and is insanely happy about, but you are unhappy with. If that makes sense.
That's a tough one, because I mean, if you knowingly create something that they're insanely happy with, but in your gut you're unhappy with, it's like, then that's just strictly going for the money.
Yeah.
And
Okay, because
every piece you do, a part of your career.
Yeah.
He totally dropped out. And I'm worried about doing that. It's like I'll take inking jobs where I'm strictly copying. I can't hear you, Greg. It looks like you're muted at the moment.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there you are.
We can hear you now. So, like, yeah, it's like I can take a job where I'm strictly like mimicking what the pencils are.
Yeah.
But if, like, say like the penciler is crappy, and they say just do what's there, make it a little better. If I know the artwork isn't up to snuff, and me as an inker, the old term was embellisher.
Yeah.
Is really like, I like to go in and beef it up, pump it up, tweak it, make it better, throw in lots of blacks, whatever works.
Yeah.
And if I'm not given that opportunity, I sort of feel like it's against my own grain of what I should be doing.
Yeah, or they're telling you how to do your job, or how how to do it instead of how best. Because I worked on a project recently where the client was insanely happy with it. Like, it seemed as though the more time I put into the project, and the more I liked it personally, the more they disliked it, the more issues they had with it. But then when I started like half-assing it, they would love it. And so in the end, it was cool because I did like half the work and I got paid the full rate for it. But it's like, whenever I do a page or something, I want to be able to put it on my portfolio.
Yeah.
And this is something I was completely unhappy with, and it was definitely money's always good, but it definitely felt like a money grab. And meanwhile, like, some of my best projects are ones where I'll work like from like 10 in the morning to midnight because I want to.
Yeah.
Even though it might not. It'll pay well, but like I'll actually want to put in the work to make it look great and make it look amazing.
Yeah, I've worked on jobs where I've done some stuff that nobody has ever seen. Like, I don't even know what's happened with the artwork. But with Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and I mean, like, every company has a Facebook page, and if I'd done something for a company to show up on their page that with probably my name attached, I don't want to do something half-assed. Even if they tell me this is exactly what they want, I'm like, well, it's less than the quality I do in a morning doodle that I post on Twitter, or
Yeah, it's not good because you want to keep the client happy, but you also have to keep yourself happy. Different projects I've done where the client will have like completely different tastes in something, and I'm surprised that they like this crap they're accepting from me, and so I'll try and do it well, but sometimes the best thing to hope for is a happy medium, and it might be kind of egotistical to say that this person should take what you do 100%, but the way I say, like, if it's for a comic, if it serves a story well, do it. If it makes the art look better in an objective way, do it. As long as you can explain yourself, I guess it's fine. But sometimes you'll come across a situation where you have to be satisfied doing crap.
Yeah. It comes down to like uh, to talk a little bit in regards to the title. It's like my sort of perfect day. I like to start early. I like a break in the middle of my day, and I like to work into the night.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Which kind of screws up my day to have like have a normal day. But
Yeah.
work wise, creatively, I'm like really good in the morning and really good in the evening. The day, in the middle of the day, I'm just useless.
Yeah, same here. As soon as the sun goes down, I get better.
um,
I find that the only way that I have a successful workday straight through the day is if I'm in such deadline mode that almost the entire day doesn't really exist anyways.
I'm the same way.
One big blur kind of day, like that kind of thing.
If I'm cooking on a deadline, time could like you can get into a flow with your art, and time could evaporate, and you're not even aware of what day or moment in time you are.
Yeah.
And if you're cooking on a deadline, just grinding to you're finished, it's that kind of feeling, like where you just time evaporates and you're just doing it until you, not even until you drop, you're just doing it until it's done. Drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nothing beats that kind of feeling, although it's kind of ruins your next day productivity wise.
Yeah.
Because then usually I'm useless.
But it's such a satisfying feeling, like hitting a goal and
Yeah.
Just working towards it. Even if it's like, if it's really hard when you're done with it, it's just so satisfying. And I think that's I love that feeling. That's why I like deadlines so much, because it just keeps everything flowing. Like it helps me to streamline my work, so I'm not like constantly noodling on stuff. I just focus on what the best thing is, and then it gives me something to look forward to. Like I've worked on a lot of projects with no deadlines, and you're constantly going back and retooling stuff, and it's not a good place to be. Like I can't go back and work on things after I'm done. I have to keep going.
Yeah,
I want to get everything perfect the first time through.
Yeah, especially me, as I tend to want to, like, okay, a page arrives, and I like to sit on it because I like to soak it up.
Yeah.
I like, it's because I'm adaptable inking wise. I get different kinds of artwork. I get tight artwork. I get loose artwork. I get, like what's expected of me is different. And so I just like to soak up the artwork for a little bit. And then I dive in and work on the pages. And if I'm done with a page technically, like I inked everything on a page, I like to look it over 2 or 3 times just so I don't miss even the littlest detail.
Yeah.
So like if I'm not on a deadline, like if it's not due that day, then I can casually look it over a couple of times.
Yeah.
But if it's due that day, I'm like staring at it, and it's like I know I'm missing something, but scan it, send it.
Yeah. Well, like I'm of the belief, like the thing with deadlines is like I think most of the time, like for me, like I could either do like a like fully penciled ink lettered page in like between 8 and 10 hours or so. But that's because like I focus on like I don't noodle if that's the case. I'll just go straight ahead to it. And I think like most of the time, like you could probably like if you were to get pages, you could probably knock out. I'd say like as far as inking or penciling, you could probably knock out like I don't know, maybe 5 a day if you just focus on the absolute basic. It might not be the best thing ever, but I feel that work takes as long as we let it. So like let's say you wake up in the morning and you have 2 hours of work.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna let it go on for like 12 hours. Like that's what happened to me today. Like I didn't have much coming in, but like still working on stuff. I knew I had the podcast tonight, so I wanted to save some. But it's like, yeah, I could have just gotten like knocked it all out in the morning and had a free day. But it's just so easy to just like to procrastinate on that stuff. And but yeah, I think like work will definitely take as long as you let it, and you'd be amazed like how surprised like when the pressure's on, like how much awesome stuff you can do.
Yeah, there's a I forget what it's called, but there's like some I want to say Parkinson's law or something like that. The
80-20.
It's like work expands to the time you have to work on it.
Oh, okay, yeah. And then there was God, I forgot what it's called. The 80-20 rule. There's a fancy name for it. Where like 80% of God, what is it? Only 20% of what you do for something will actually contribute to the finished product. So most of it is just like the outside kind of aspect. So like if you're drawing a page, like only 20% of the actual drawing will contribute to the page. Most of it is like thinking and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, especially with computer coloring, you don't see most of what I do anyway.
Yeah.
It's great. It's really, it's just our insanity. A lot of times, what we think we're contributing. Sometimes.
Yeah.
But we didn't really dive deep, but I think we've been going a little over an hour. So maybe next time we can dive a little deeper.
Yeah.
But this good episode. Are we getting you, Greg?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can hear you. Okay. So I figure we'll wrap it up. If you want to plug anything, go over your links, we can get to that stage. So you're up first, Greg.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you can find my work at flameape.org. You can find me at Flameape, The Art of Gregory Giordano on Facebook. And my book, Holiday Mountain Madness, which we're swinging into Chapter 2, is at holiday with 2 L's comic.com. And also Holiday Mountain Madness is our Facebook page. And currently you can read the first issue for free in a digital flipbook on the website. And also I'm going to be getting it monetized so you can download and read it or buy a paper copy pretty soon.
Awesome. So glad you're making progress on it. It's good looking stuff.
Thanks, man.
Cool. And Ian, where can people find you and plug your band and your art?
Yeah, sure. So for my art, you can find my main site's my DeviantArt site. It's Ian J. Miller. Twitter at Ian Miller Comics. You can find me on Facebook at Ian J. Miller. You can find me on Tumblr at Ian J. Miller. You can find me on Instagram at ian.j.miller.com. You can find my band. We're called Ferret. We're on Facebook and Bandcamp. And big project coming out soon is Zombie with the Shotgun. It's on hiatus right now, but it's being filmed into a movie. It's currently in the editing stage, so it's cool. I saw some clips from it. It's going to be badass.
So is it like an indie film being put together, or is it like real production?
Yeah, it was all this guy who came up with his characters. He created like a few short YouTube videos, and he created a comic, and like came up with an idea for a comic. And my friend Simone was working on it, who did this awesome series for Image called Near Death a few years ago with Jay Ferber. And he couldn't do it anymore, so he recommended me. Then I got on, and then it started around the same time. Like they were planning to turn it into a movie to expand on the YouTube series. So it was all Kickstarter backed, all independently funded.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's cool to see like what you could do with a DIY. So it's going to be a full feature length, and it's kind of sort of in the same universe as the comics a little bit, but. There's like some like twists and stuff that aren't in there, so it's gonna be cool.
Awesome. And what kind of music does your band do?
Oh, we do. We do the most. What's what I'm looking for. Brain farting right now. We do glam metal. Glam metal.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have everybody's YouTube link. Um, do you have you have a YouTube channel set up?
For me?
Yeah.
I do. I have like 2 videos on there, but that's not my main thing.
Okay. I'll find a link for you.
All right, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just my DeviantArt is good. I'll send it to
Oh,
you.
okay. Yeah, I'll put that in.
All right, cool.
Cool. And I am Peter Palmiotti, and I have a lot going on, as was mentioned earlier, and
Give me 50 comics.
yeah, 50 comics at least that I'm working on currently.
Like a day.
I hope to get a couple out before the end of the year. Yeah, everything pulls and pushes depending on other people working on certain projects. But I should be self-publishing a couple of things this year, and I'm going to be doing a lot more YouTube videos and a lot more focused on particular projects. So as soon as I catch up, so probably next week I'll start doing that. And I'm doing these Studio Synergy Hangouts Thursday nights and Sunday at different times. You can check my YouTube channel. Just scroll down a little. There's live streaming events, and see the next ones coming up. And yeah, I just make up topics so we're a little focused, rather than previously it was all totally random. But yeah, I hope to get a lot more people in these. If you're an artist, comic book artist, regular artist, illustrator, writer, painter, animator, whatever, you want to join in, let me know. Send me a message on Facebook. But other than that, go become a patron. My patrons fund this show. And I appreciate everybody checking it out. Give it a comment. Let us know what us to talk about. And that's it for now. Talk to you later. Bye.